boys, let's go! Gather round the table set, maps and minis, no regret. Heroes rise and villains fall, the dice decide the fate of all. From dungeons deep to cosmic skies, at dawn calls, the flames will rise. Sharpen your swords, prepare the show. It's time to shout, we're ready to go! We're ready to go! Let the story steal the show! Ready to go! Yeah, 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 yeah! Roll for heart and rock the flow! Bards will sing and dragons know the might, the magic, the tales we throw! Ready, not go! When destiny calls and the dice hit the table, the heroes awaken and the nerds are ready. Ready to go! Leopard tails begin to grow! Ready to go! Forge your fate and steal the show! Raise your mugs, let courage flow! Ready to go!
What the fuck? All right. So, folks, for those of you who have no idea what just happened, we started playing a song and it just cut off, and that was my reaction. And,
Stellar opening. Welcome to
and-
Ready Nerd Go.
and they're not going to get that because they would have had the entire song in post production. Oh, fuck. Oh. Yeah, fuck. All right, so he's Hanko and I'm Alex, and this is Graphic Policy's Tabletop RPG podcast. That is probably my favorite.
I really hope this is not your first episode, because I wouldn't blame you for stopping at this point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe. Well, the thing is, if it is someone's first episode, they're probably, what am I listening to? The song sounded decent, and then it devolved into this.
Immediate anarchy, which, to be fair, fairly accurate summation of how our casts tend to go.
Why?
Oh,
All this is being left in. This is all being left in. And, oh, Jesus.
okay. Deep breaths.
Right. Okay, so if the song starts again, I will pause it as quickly as we can. We are probably going to laugh about it, and then
Again.
potentially move on.
Potentially.
We've had a bit of a spotty recording schedule over the last few months. So we're going to try and get back into something more consistent. It's while we are a bi-weekly show, it sometimes happens that we can record on week 1, week 2 we're busy, so we'll try and record week 3, and then something else happens. So it it's also we don't have a set time to record. It's normally just message me when you wake up. Okay, great. And by the time one of us is woken up, if we're doing it that way, the other one has already had to go and do other things. So
Yeah, life is
we'll
busy.
get better at that.
But yeah, so today we're thinking doing something a bit different, as you can probably tell by the title of the episode. We're planning on talking about, instead of general gaming concepts, more talking about a specific system. The plan is to stick to more indie stuff, so you're not going to see anything from like Wizards of the Coast or Paizo or Onyx or, the big name ones. Although I don't even know if World of Darkness is considered big name anymore. It was in like the 2000s.
Honestly, Wizards of the Coast and Pies are the only two names you mentioned. I recognize. God, this is gonna be a good episode.
I mean, we were already off to a real strong start, so it can only go uphill
There are
from here.
people who listen like, no, actually, you are off to a strong start. We needed this today, and arguably so did we. But this
Oh
wasn't
God, I
this
did.
wasn't how we were intending to start. So
Yeah, but no. So the games that I'm planning on bringing up, because let's be honest, I'm going to be the one bringing most of these up. Eventually, Alex might, come to me right excited, being, I found one, I want to talk about it. But for the most part, it's going to be
yeah. I am the layman here. I may have some questions and some observations, but realistically, we know our role.
yeah. And this is not going to be like a deep dive into these systems, more as a, hey, this looks fun. I think you should play it, because a lot of these are ones that I found on DriveThruRPG or itch.io when this looks really cool, bought it, and then it's just been sitting in my library waiting for the time to actually play it, because when you have so many systems and so little time, it doesn't always work out, especially because a lot of these ones that I'm going to be bringing up here are, how can I put this? They require a specific type of group to really work. Like if your group is mostly used to, D&D, kick down the door and kill the orcs, some of these might just not be for your game group's preference, and that's fine.
Yeah. So for those of us who are assuming that DriveThruRPG is an online marketplace of PDFs, what is DriveThruRPG? And if I'm right, then we can just carry on and say, okay, cool.
You got it in one. So have you heard of itch.io?
No.
So they both sell tabletop RPGs. Itch.io also sells like indie video games and stuff too. Its search functions aren't as great for finding tabletop stuff, just because DriveThruRPG is very specifically for tabletop RPGs. But Itch tends to have a lot of more like smaller indie stuff on it, and occasionally you'll find the same product on both. But
Yeah, that's fair.
but
Uh, Almost like a Steam for tabletop RPGs in some ways.
yeah, actually, in a lot of ways, because I mean, drive-through specifically, I like them because they have an app for your desktop or your mobile that you can just download all of your PDFs like through the app, so it works really well.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's cool.
this
Yeah.
episode this episode is not a pitch for drive-through RPG. They already have the market cornered. They don't need my help.
No, it's very much just that I wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah. But yeah, so the one that I want to bring up today, because, this is one I have not yet played, but I'm very interested in because it does, I mean, it's a very specific RPG, because you get RPGs that are like, hey, this is for a generic system. You can do whatever you want with it, like GURPS tends to do. Or you get ones that are more like, hey, this is a system built for a specific setting. And then occasionally you'll get ones that are like very built for it. This is to tell this specific kind of story. Everything in this game is designed to tell this story. And that's what today's example is, because oh God, I wish we could show people pictures on this podcast, because the thing that first pulled me to this one was the art is just gorgeous on it. Like
I can add images for the graphic policy website upload, but
Perfect.
that's not in the video feed, but just in the. Well, I probably could do it in the video feed. I just don't know how, and I've never bothered to learn.
Yeah, we'll revisit it later.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna tell you the name of this RPG. Then like it has like its elevator pitch right on it, and it's what
yeah.
100%
And
sold me.
to be clear, we are not sponsored by this RPG. They have
No,
no idea that this is coming up. Um, this is literally just something that Anko really wants to talk about and enjoys.
exactly. And like I do follow these guys on like Blue Sky, but like I've never interacted with them. They have no idea who the hell I am. I just think this is really cool, and I cannot wait to play it at some point.
Yeah.
So the name of the game is Eat the Reich. And that like you've done a good job when the title of the game tells you everything you need to know about the game.
Is that spelled exactly how I think it's spelled?
The year is 1943. Europe is in flames. You are a unit of crack vampire commandos with a single objective: drink all of Adolf Hitler's blood and finally destabilize the Nazi war machine. That is the elevator pitch for this game.
Yeah, I would understand why you bought that.
And like there's like, for me, everybody says don't judge a book by its cover. Honestly, that's kind of bullshit. Covers exist
No,
for a reason.
you judge a book by its color, by its cover.
Wow.
Yeah. You know why that came up? Because I literally just googled "Eat the Reich" and there's a really cool like reddy, pinky, purpley color. I'm like, oh, that's a cool color.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm on it, and this is also one of those things where I'm gonna leave my faux pas in because it is what it is. Um, yeah, so you do judge a book by its cover all the time. Do you know how many times I'm like, I don't want to read that, and then it has an alternate cover. Like, oh, that's the coolest thing ever. Oh, it's an alternate cover to this. Maybe I shouldn't have judged a book by its cover. Then actually picked up and read the blurb.
Yeah. Now it's very fair to say that sometimes you look past the cover and revise your opinion accordingly,
Yeah,
but covers exist for a reason. But yeah, so this game is very focused in its what it's for, as you can tell by everything that we just said. And I know some people have gone like, well, if I can't like create and like play like my own story, then what's the point? It's like, well, you play video games that have defined stories all the time. It's you want to experience this specific thing. This is what you go in and for. Like you don't go into D&D expecting to, well, some people do, but I find it silly. You don't go into D&D expecting to play like a modern spy movie. That's not what that game is designed for. This game is very much designed for what it says on the cover. And one of the nice things I like about the more niche RPGs I've been getting into is a lot of them are very much into the queer punk aesthetic, which I'm a fan of, and it really suits the indie scene well. Because when you see big name companies doing like quote unquote punk anti-establishment stuff, it's like, okay, this is really nice and pretty looking, but it's the man telling you what to do, and that's just kind of
it.
defeating the purpose. You know what I mean?
I do. It's And apologies, I'm going to use a wrestling reference. I know our friend would be screaming at me that he's not here,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like a guy called CM Punk suddenly turning into a corporate shill in many ways, or still trying to retain his punk aesthetic and
Yeah.
punk sensibility. So I understand it's for a musical point. It's not unlike Johnny Rotten slowly and surely becoming more and more corporately or more friendly to the corporate area while still trying to be anti-establishment. It can happen, and it can happen really well, right? Don't get me wrong, it can happen really well and can work really well. It's more often than not comes across as empty pandering lip service, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like they actually have. Where is it? There's something in this book that I found really interesting when they read, because the book is like violently punk in its art style and aesthetic and mission statement and everything. But one of the things that they say, because like every RPG has their like their welcome section at the first. That's like, hey, if you've never played an RPG before, this is what an RPG is. This is what this specific system is. Da 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 da. Just for you
Yeah.
can't assume somebody getting into this picking up for the first time is necessarily going to know what it is. You need to explain it to them. But one of the things that I like about it is that in this book they actually have. I'm not going to read the whole thing here, obviously, but one of the lines I have in here that I actually really like is, this game is not in and of itself an act of resistance. It is an act of creativity, which reflects our frustration with the real world's ongoing Nazi problem. And it's like it's nice to have something that says, it's like, hey, like playing this game, doesn't.
Isn't going to do much in terms of actively resist, but it is going to be cathartic and allow you to express your frustrations at the same time.
Exactly, and it's that's what a lot of the more big name stuff tends to be, where it's just like, yeah, it's like this pretends to be about it, but it's just
Yeah,
lipstick on a pig.
I
But
love
yeah,
that
so
phrase.
right, it's great, isn't it? You just immediately picture it, and it's
Yep.
hilarious.
Anyway, so eat the Reich.
Yeah.
We're going to
So,
tangent off so bad today as one of us keeps us on
oh
track,
no,
and
it's gonna
this
be
time it was
great.
my turn. Yeah.
Like honestly, most of this one is going to be tangenting because, like I said myself, unfortunately, I have not had the opportunity to actually play this one yet. It looks gorgeous, but as I mentioned earlier, it's one of those games that requires a very specific group to play, not just because, it's a very focused game that wants to tell a very specific type of story, but the type of story it wants to tell is also kind of requires the right group to play with.
It may also, I feel like also it may not be the kind of game you want to play in a somewhat more public setting. And I don't mean to say this isn't a good game to play in the middle of a
Well,
comic shop.
well, it's kind of like we had referenced it in an early episode when we were playing Twilight 2000, and
That's
one of
exactly where I was going with
and
this.
and one of the players was like, "Man, I can't wait to kill some Russians." And then had some of the customers to look over. It's like, "Oh no, no, no! It's in the
It
game. Like we're playing like post Cold War when the Cold War went hot. Like that is
it's
it's in the game. It's fine."
it wasn't just one of the players. It was the only person sat there wearing a Comic Hunter T-shirt because he was the owner. It was very
Yeah,
clearly a staff member, and
yeah,
all of us just froze and laughed afterwards. But
like and like
I know we brought that up before, but again, it's a very specific game. You probably don't want to play in the middle of a comic shop unless you're sure there's no one in.
yeah, that and
And
when we were playing the game, it was also after stuff with Ukraine had already kicked off, so there was
yep,
already we were actually unsure as to whether we wanted to start playing it at that time, because like when we were originally discussing playing it, it was like, and I was like, hey, this could be a lot of fun, da 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 da, it could be great, and then like
like
maybe a
weeks
couple of
later.
weeks before the game actually started, everything started.
Yep.
And it was like, not really sure how. It's like we need to sit down and actually talk about, are we still comfortable doing this right now?
Yeah, exactly. And I thought it was hilarious, that interaction, because I wasn't playing that game.
Mm,
However, I also recognize that there is a time and a place for the game, and it was one of those moments where we didn't stop the game, and I don't think we would not play this game if someone said, "Wait, what are you doing?" Because anyone that comes into that store who isn't willing to, burn a Nazi flag,
yeah,
probably is in the wrong store, and we all know that. So it's not like this is a kind of thing that we wouldn't play there. It would be more the I think honestly it would be more the vampire aspect and seeing how gruesome that happened, depending on what time of day it is if kids come in. More than
oh
more
yeah,
than
no, because
anything, I think is what would do it.
There is a number of things in this that are very much, yeah, you are playing unapologetic vampires who are doing unapologetic vampire things. You're just doing it to people who deserve it.
Yeah, exactly. And for the most part, the people that come in their store would happily like, oh, cool. All right, well,
Yeah.
moving on.
But you
Right?
also don't want, kids to have to deal with that either. If
Yeah,
they walk in, it's like, oh, I just talked about like gruesomely eviscerating and drinking this guy. It's like, oh, maybe not great.
yeah. Well, there's an 8-year-old standing next to me, looking at me with wide eyes, like, ah. But at the flip side, if you're bringing your kid in at 9 o'clock at night, you expect similar discussions that may not be kid friendly, because why would you expect to get that? Anyway, that's neither here nor there for the nature of this game.
We were going to be all over the place at this one today.
We did, yeah. So I'm going to assume, like, with a predetermined story, you're going to have predetermined characters, and I personally enjoy that.
Yes.
If the story's predetermined, you don't have to worry about, how do I create a character for a 6-hour event? How much depth do I want to put into the character? Can I reuse this character in another game down the road? Or is it just, hey, here's the character you're playing, or you can choose one of these 6. We're going to play 4 characters. Which one do you want? I feel like that works really well in a game like this.
Oh, yeah, 100%. You're actually right on the money with this game specifically, because it does have, what is it, 6? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 6 pre-generated characters who are all like, they are not like fully fleshed out, like they don't have elaborate backstories or whatever, but they're mechanically laid out, they're named, and there's like a blurb on like who they are, and then like the fine details are the players can just make up those details as they go along if they become relevant. But you are playing pre-established characters. It's kind of like I mean, I'm trying to think of I was gonna say, yeah, it's kind of like when you're playing like some of the more free-form Final Fantasy games,
Yeah,
where like you don't have where your characters don't have specific job classes, and or you're like making the character into how you want to play them. Like they do exist in the world and they do have their story, but like how they act and interact is more up to you.
it's all, you can almost argue it's like playing The Witcher 3, where this is Geralt,
Ooh, that is actually a perfect example.
right? This is Geralt. This is all of the abilities he can have, but you can't give him all of these abilities in one playthrough. So how do you want to play? Do you want to play more with your sword and ignore the potions and the mutations? Do you want to be, I don't really care so much about the sword, I want to do more, the magic system, the signs, and then top it up with other stuff. So I feel like it's more like that, where you have a limited freedom, but you have complete freedom as to what the character might do, as long as it
Yeah.
makes sense. But you don't have complete freedom as to how you're going to. Well, I really wanted to play a brawler. Okay, well, that will fit in with one of these 3 characters. You can choose one of these 3.
Exactly. Yeah, because like each one of these 6 characters is kind of, because there's so many different archetypes of vampires in
Mm-hmm.
our mythos. Each one of these 6 characters is kind of like exemplifying one of those archetypes.
Oh,
Like
cool.
you have like the right aristocratic vampire is actually right up there with the first option. You have the more occultish vampire. You have the more like gruesome undead looking vampire, the more feral looking vampire, and my favorite one, which is Flint, who is his blurb about like who he is born in a cave, driven out by Nazis, half bat, half human, all nightmare, monstrous hunter with a taste for blood, may or may not be able to talk, possibly just shy. And that is the entire blurb. So that is all of the information you know about who this character is. Like you have their stats, but that is
That
who
is
this
all
character
you.
is.
Yep. Oh, I love that.
So
That is
so
amazing.
so if you want to play Flint, that is your like prompt to launch off of like, who is this character? Who do I want this character to be with this blurb?
Oh, so I'm now currently looking this up, and it looks like you can actually get a book version. Like, you can get a book PD. The PDF is $15 US.
I
Or was it
believe
Canadian
so.
dollars?
Um,
Either way, it's $15
yeah.
on the website. Whether that's depending on what country you're in is vary. Um, the unfortunately the pink soft cover PDF is, I think it's just the colored edges is gone, but the green one is still there, and obviously the PDF is still around as well.
Yeah, like this is very much one of those ones that I would love to at some point have a hardcover of.
Yeah.
Because like
Have you seen the dice? It's on their website.
I am trying not to get distracted looking at them, but they are
Sorry,
pretty.
they're really nice. They are really nice. Folks, for those of you who are dice goblins like Anko and I, the D6 for the Eat the Reich have what looks to be the characters' faces or representations of the characters on each of the sides of the die
Yeah.
behind a very clear number. And they will be
Which
available April 18th, 2026. Again, this is not sponsored by this game.
although for the record, not sponsored, but we can put links in our blurbs, right?
Oh,
Because
what?
I would
Oh,
like yeah.
I'm putting links to this in because holy crap, the pins are awesome. Anyway, so I'm going to put the link in this right now because otherwise this is going to be us exploring the website.
Yeah. And I mean, this website actually has a number of RPGs I would love to talk about in here, like Spire and Heart, but
And even
that's not
Hallows
today.
looks pretty cool. No, this is
Yeah.
so when we're doing this series of unrated, initially it was going to be underrated, then it was going to be uh, unappreciated, and then we realized no, it's just going to be an indie showcase because some of these games may be popular. It's just they might not be as well known as other things, and frankly, we realized that at a certain point there's only so much that we can do to talk about new things or things for new players to RPGs. And frankly, we enjoy hanging out and we decided
Yeah.
to spin off a bit, which is also why, if you've noticed, we've added the actual title or what the episode is actually about to the titles now.
Because like these ones, it's going to be helpful if people can actually find what we're talking about.
Exactly. So we're trying to grow a bit and just in terms of what we're actually doing.
Yeah.
That said,
But yeah, the
it's funny. I like the fact that neither of us have played this, and yet we've still spent the majority of the time talking about it. Oh, I like
yeah,
the
because
fact you can get character. So they also offer you character sheets and a map printing as well for Eat the Reich, which say it's from $0. So I'm going to assume
the
that
zero is
means
probably the PDF download.
zero would be the PDF download that you can print. I know I just said I wasn't going to go through the thing, but yeah. So the physical is sold out. There's a physical with new art, which is $16, but the digital is a PDF, which I assume is a name your price. So however much you think it's worth, I suppose.
Yeah, it's one of the interesting things that, with the indie scene, like these guys are definitely they're not one of the big names in the industry, but they're also doing well enough that they can afford to get all of this really nice art for their game. Because a lot of like the really small ones might have some basic art, or if they're lucky, a cover piece, but they won't have a ton of like actual art to use just because most of them are just people, you know, sitting in their rooms going, "Hey, I think this would be really fun. I don't have a budget or anything for it, but I'm going to work on this and put it out into the world."
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that we want to bring attention to, so that maybe one of you will say, "Oh, that's kind of cool. I'm going to get that."
And it's really fascinating because this happens with video games too, and where like the bigger names tend to be a lot more conservative in like exploring new concepts and branching out on their IP just because they're a big name company. They need to, have profit margins to stay afloat. But the more indie scene where there's a lot of people doing it just for the love of doing it, you get into some really interesting ideas and concepts that generally eventually filter their way back up to the big name players once, they've been explored and refined and people actually, the knowledge of these concepts spreads around. Like pretty much all of the new things that came in with D&D 5th edition were concepts that they borrowed from other RPGs in the space. Whether or not they implemented them successfully is another topic entirely. But
I appreciate
today,
your restraint.
today is not going to be talking about them. We are very specifically not talking about them.
Unless it happens to come up as a line like that, we're not going to completely restrict ourselves. But this is very
Yeah.
much designed to be a highlight for Eat the Reich and to a lesser extent the publisher, Rowan Rook. Is that Rowan Rook and Descartes? I think so. I'm looking at the website. It's rowanrookandescartes.com.
But yeah, it's like one of the really nice things in it. I'm not gonna lie. First thing that drew this to me was the art in the book. Like 100%. It was actually I was looking at another RPG's subreddit, and it's actually Lancer. We talked about Lancer before.
Yep.
And somebody had art commissioned for their mech, and it was like in the similar style, like art style to Eat the Reich. Like it was the artist who had done the art for Eat the Reich that the guy had commissioned his mech artwork for, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And I had to find out who this artist was. Went and found the artist. Went and was looking at their page. They were talking about having done the artwork for Eat the Reich, and that's how I found Eat the Reich, because the indie scene is very connected. Like people talk to each other and they make connections, and that's how this stuff spreads, just like in any indie scene. And it's really fun when you actually start diving into it and seeing all these stuff, because I've found numerous RPGs that I never would have discovered otherwise if I had just stuck to trawling the best selling on Drive-Thru RPG, or seeing what was brought up
Yeah.
on my forums, which are almost entirely D&D related.
Agreed. And I think that in many ways that's what we can do with this show when we have this. I know you titled it the Indie Showcase, the Indie RPG Showcase episodes, is that we can highlight some of this. And I wanted to point out that you can switch the currency on the Rowan Rook and Descartes website to British pounds, US dollars, a euro, and an Australian dollar. No option
And
for Canadian dollars. However, I assume that's because we're basically close enough to the US that they just think, well, and fine, whatever.
yeah, well, I won't judge them too harshly on it.
No, exactly. So again, like PDFs are definitely the way to go for a lot of these things. And I say that as someone who much prefers physical media. But if you're
Yes.
just looking to explore, a PDF is significantly cheaper and doesn't have shipping costs. This isn't something you could get from Amazon where you could bulk it into your Prime and go from there. This is very much an indie company who will be shipping stuff out themselves, probably even taking a hit on the shipping at the same time. So go for
Yeah,
it.
that is one of the sad things about seeing books that have this much gorgeous art in them, is because like when you're playing something like a lot of the OSR stuff tends to be very black and white, old style, minimal to no art. Those stuff is like, yeah, having a PDF, you're not really losing out on much. They're a lot more utilitarian.
Yeah.
But the more like art book side of the indie RPG scene, which I'm an absolute sucker for, and a lot of people are, and that's what a lot of Kickstarter is based around in the indie RPG scene, is like, hey, we have the system, we're raising money for art, because art is the most expensive, because it's something that you can't do yourself. And if you want it to look good, you need to you should be paying somebody appropriately for it.
Agreed.
And at some point, well, at some point we'll dive into
Yeah.
Kickstarter and all of that because I have thoughts on that too.
Oh yes, you do. And that was we do have that as an episode title ready to go. We just
Yes.
wanted to showcase this because I don't know why, but for some reason, Eat the Reich seems appropriate.
There's something about what's going on nowadays that
Somewhere,
make that.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, vampires, right? It's a vampire uprising.
Exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Now,
it's
again, so we've mentioned your website numerous times. It's Rowan Rook and Descartes. God fucking damn it! I am too tired apparently for this. RowanRookandDescartes.com. They have not sponsored this, but if they happen to listen and would decide to link it to whatever they want to link it to, feel free. We don't care. I don't think we said anything overly negative that should be associated with them. I don't think so.
I mean, I'd be more worried about the random junk we say. They're like, do we really like these guys?
Yeah. I mean, the opening of "What the fuck" is a good one. Anyway,
Yeah. But no, so
side note, I do really like their Eat the Reich patches.
right. Like,
Yeah.
oh god, I have both a problem and a love for patches and stickers where
Yep.
it's just like I love them, I want them all of the time, but at the same time I get them and then I sit there and go, I don't know where to put this because if I put it somewhere and I don't like it, then I need to take it off and put it somewhere else, which is a lot easier to do with a patch than it is with a sticker.
Yes, it is. And
But
I am the kind of person that when I put a patch on, I do not glue it. Use the iron on. I will not iron it down.
mm,
Because I like if I want to move it, then I don't mind just snipping the thread and changing it.
yeah,
Right? Like I'm sure you've seen some of the things I've had on it. Didn't you have that patch on the other side 2 weeks ago? I'm like, yep, but it
yep,
annoyed me, so I moved it.
yep. And I mean, hey, speaking of punk stuff and DIY ethos,
Yeah, yeah. So again, like
but
sorry, carry on. I was cutting you off. I
as
didn't
I
mean
say,
to.
to actually talk about the system itself a little bit, because I figure we should other than just gushing about the art and aesthetic, because as much as I would love to
Yeah.
just do that,
I
because
mean, in
God, this is
fairness,
gorgeous.
neither of us have played it, and I'm already sold on the game because of the art, the predetermined stories, and the fact that I can play a character who may or may not be mute and is part bat, part vampire, and just pure rage.
Yeah.
Right. So how does one play? I did see it's a D6 system in my Googling.
Yeah. So it is a D6 dice pool system. So I know we talked about different types of systems a while back, but just
Mhm.
to refresh both your and any listener's memory,
Let's be
dice
real, it's
pools.
for me.
Yeah, it's all for you. So dice pool systems are games that obviously there's a lot of variation system to system, but in general, how dice pool system works is that each one of your attributes will usually be a number somewhere between like 1 to 5 is the usual range you see. But what will normally happen is that depending on whatever action you're taking in the game, you might need to combine different attributes together, and then you roll that number of dice in like a pool. So like if you have for this is I may as well use the stats relevant to this game. So the stats in this game is brawl, which oh god I need to use the descriptions for these two because they're great. Brawl, the description is kill Nazis up close. Constitution, which is Constitution con. Oh no, it is just con. That's awesome. I love that. Con, sway Nazis with lies, flattery, or charisma. Fix, repair or modify devices and structures. Search, investigate to uncover information. Shoot, kill Nazis at a distance. Sneak, avoid detection and minimize disruption. And terrify, scare Nazis into compliance. I love how clearly this game just wears itself on its sleeve. It's
Yeah,
just
and like this is one of those things that I'm really enjoying about it as someone who doesn't have the level of experience with RPGs. the description for the word con, because you fell into that trap yourself,
Yep.
literally just now. Con, oh, that must mean constitution. No, con.
This is literally conning people.
Yeah, in other games that would be deception, and I think that's where I often get confused. Is it conning or am I constitution? Oh wait, there's deception. It's probably this. This is very clear what it is, and I really appreciate that.
hmm So the way this one works is that your dice pool is determined primarily by your stat. So like if you're trying to brawl, con, fix, shoot, search, sneak, you know, what have you. And then various equipment or situational bonuses will add additional sixes to the pool, like additional d6s to the pool. Sorry, just in case there's any new people here. D6 means your standard six-sided die, the same thing you'd find in Monopoly boards, what have you. Which is also a nice thing about this one is that you don't technically need to buy any specialty dice to play this. If you've played any board games whatsoever, you probably have a few D6 kicking around the house. You can just buy this PDF and play the game. You don't need to go out to a comic shop and buy any specialty dice.
Honestly, if you don't have enough D6, while you definitely can go to comic shops to buy fancy D6s, you can also get some at the dollar store, which are just plain white ones with the black
Yeah,
dots.
one of my friends showed me he done like it was $6, a complete like polyhedral set of dice.
And
Like
a dice roller tray thing.
yeah,
Yeah. So we actually picked up. This is an anecdote. We picked up a bunch of those for the volunteering we do to give kids gifts for Christmas, and not Toys for Tots, but something similar, more local. And we picked up a couple of those because they were $5. You get a not plain set of polyhedral dice and a dice tower to roll them in for
like
$5.
it's kind of shocking when you're used to more bespoke stuff, or in like the stuff
And
that the comic shop sells, and it's like how are you doing all of this for $5?
yeah, and my only assumption is that these were actually more expensive and were in the wrong place and didn't sell. Like maybe they were at a Target and they were cluttering the shelves or something, right? That's the
Yeah,
only thing I can think of.
and they're just trying to recoup stock because like even just like
Yeah,
raw materials, that's got to be
is
close to the cost, let alone manufacturing. And
well, that's what I mean. Like I picked up 5 Deadpool hardcover graphic novels or collections or whatever. They were $5 a piece. Like that
mm,
is an insane value. But when you look at it, they're very clearly from either from the UK,
yeah,
because they're that style of hardcover collection that the UK does. It's like a subscription thing where every week you pay $10. They send you a random issue in the series of up to 150. So it's like a 3-year thing,
huh,
commitment. But by the end of the thing, you've bought all of them. You have all of these hardcovers on the shelf, and there's a running story on the back of the cover as well. Like maybe not a story, but like an image of some form.
yeah,
If I'm sure, like they've done it for Star Trek, they've done it for Marvel, DC, different characters within. It's fairly common over there, and again, I think it's because the distribution of the country is a lot smaller, and the distribution is a lot better. It's a country maybe the size of one of the smaller states. It fits within Texas easily. Probably, maybe, I don't know, the size of what, New York, maybe New York
I don't
State,
know,
give or take. I
I
don't
don't know
know.
US sizes.
Neither do I, and I don't. I think it. I think the UK is probably about the size of Ontario, maybe.
Mm.
Maybe not. No, Ontario's fucking huge. Anyway, Manitoba, for say Manitoba, because you can go from one side of the UK to the other along the width.
Mm.
I think in maybe 6 to 8 hours, and then north to south in about 6 to 8 hours, and I think that's probably Manitoba size. Um, but it has the size of the amount of people in Canada within that space. So there's a lot of people, fairly condensed. Of course, you can move things from place to place. It's a much cheaper thing, and you have many more stops along the way that, oh, we'll be able to sell that here. There's at least 4 nerds in this place. All right, cool. So we'll drop it off here on the way to this bigger spot. Great. So the distribution is much different, much more friendly.
Yeah, as opposed to especially us here on the island where, you have to go well out of your way to bring anything here.
Yeah, exactly. So distribution in the UK is significantly better than Canada, let alone where we are. Needless to
Yeah.
say, that kind of graphic novel collection will actually last 100 and I think there's 70 issues in, or the number 70 on one of the ones I've got. So there's at least 70 of them. At least there's probably more. Um, it's a thing that can happen easily.
Yeah.
I
But
forget
anyway.
where that came from. Oh, dollar
Oh,
store dice. You don't have
yeah.
to buy fancy, expensive dice to play this game. You can. There is nothing stopping you because there's some lovely dice on the website.
Yeah, we already gushed about just how gorgeous the D6 they have for this are, but
Yeah,
like the normal black and white Monopoly dice will work just fine. I mean, I don't think you should have Monopoly in your house. It's a terrible game, but that's another entire diatribe for later.
I enjoy Monopoly when it's played by the rules, and I mean the actual rules in the book, not the ones that people make up as they go along.
That definitely does help because all those house rules that are like, oh, it's to make the game more fun. No, it drags it on. It makes it less
No,
fun.
you think Monopoly takes 7 days to play because you've added all these house rules that basically keep people in it.
Yeah.
One of the core rules, and I will stand by this, is that if say we're playing Monopoly at the shop, I don't know why we were playing Monopoly at the shop, but if we're playing Monopoly at the shop and I land on the expensive blue property, and I keep it vague because in the UK it's Mayfair, over here it's Boardwalk, and God knows what it is anywhere else.
Mm,
You land on that, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to buy this. It should go up for auction and not just be left. At
yeah.
which point, I can then join the auction and potentially buy it for less than face value. I could pay more for it, obviously, but it's a way that you can get properties much cheaper as it goes along. And if no one wants it, then it just goes back. But I remember playing with my family when we were following the rules. I bought the entire light blue section for less than the price of one because no one wanted them.
Wow.
It
And
wasn't until they realized I had the other two, because I had never actually landed on them. It
mm,
wasn't until they realized I had the other two. They're like, oh, we should have bid those up. I'm like, yeah, you should have. But now I got them for dirt cheap.
yeah, I mean, the biggest issue, the biggest house rule problem is the one that everybody always wants to play with is the money on free parking.
Yeah, no, free
Because
parking
because
is literally just a free spot.
yeah, because it's like, hey, turns out just injecting random money into people so they can stay afloat longer keeps them alive longer, which is great in real life, not so great in a game.
Exactly. And I don't recall if you have to go around the board once before you can start buying stuff or not in the actual rules. That may have been the only rule we all kept, so everyone had a fair chance at going, or we may have drawn numbers or done a high dice roll to see who can go when, because whoever
Mm.
goes first is going to have the advantage.
Oh,
Uh,
100%, yeah.
and so I think we did a random dice roll, and you could just, whenever you landed, you can just start buying.
But anyway, this episode is not about Monopoly.
No, it's like eat Reich.
We have gone through like 6 different topics while trying to explain how the core mechanic of this game works. Not a great, not a great showcase for getting people.
It No, you're right. So it's a D6, and it's not. Some of you may remember that we have been talking about the Alien game before, and a D6 pool is very much akin to what you would remember from that. And again, it doesn't have to be
Yes,
fancy dice. You can even use online dice rollers. Anyway, that isn't the point. Please carry on.
but yeah, it's actually that's actually an interesting point to bring up though, because in Alien, successes on the D6 are sixes only, and ones are like a critical failure. In this system, it's four and fives are successes, and sixes are critical successes. So the standard of success is actually a lot lower than it is in Alien, which kind of fits the more theming of the game. In this, where you're playing vampires ripping your way through Paris.
I was just thinking that actually makes more sense in this case because
Yeah,
these vampires aren't gonna. Oh, I got like 8 5s. Okay, cool. Well, you didn't succeed.
yeah.
I got eight
And like,
fives. Oh, dude, you really succeeded. And it
right?
makes sense for vampire commandos who are supernaturally strong, fast, etc.
Yeah, so different games will have the odds tilted different ways, in ways that should, if you're a competent game designer, that should reflect the type of story your game wants to tell. So like games where you're playing like really powerful people who are generally successful more often than not, that should be reflected in the probability of your dice.
Hmm.
In games that, you're playing really, plucky people trying to survive, but the odds are stacked against them, that feeling translates a lot better when the odds are actually stacked against you. But, in this game, it is a 50-50 chance whether you'll succeed. And, the more dice you roll, the more chance you have to get that better success. And unlike Alien and its stress die, ones don't do anything negative in this game.
So
Which,
it's just a regular failure.
yeah, which works great for this game.
Sounds so
But
nice.
the ones on the stress die are like one of my favorite things about like the stress mechanic in Alien is one of my favorite things about Alien. But
Yeah,
we've already talked at length about that one. So yeah, no, it's a very simple system to learn to play because, like we mentioned earlier, the stats are very simple. Like you're not going to go, oh, I want to fight this guy. What die do I need to roll? Are you are you trying to kill him up close or kill him from a distance? Shoot or brawl? Go.
yeah. It's a nice way to get like I'm not deliberately oversimplifying it, but when you have that option where it can be a much more simple introduction to things, it's always nice that
Yeah,
you can. Oh, so these are all I need. It's just a different number. Wonderful.
and like this is a much more narrative system than I hate comparing everything to D&D, but it is the 900-pound elephant in the room. So you know that's what most people reference point is going to be.
It is.
This is
It is.
this is this is a much more narrative system than that. Like you're not moving like characters around on a grid and doing individual attacks in this game.
It's
Like I'm
theater of the mind more.
yeah,
I
it,
assume.
it, it it's theater of the mind, and it's very narrative focused. Like how like I'm reading this right now, and like when you're rolling your die, like you're allocating your dice to either eliminating a threat, defending yourself against attacks, feeding on Nazi blood, activating a special ability, or advancing an objective. And so, like, advancing an objective is something you just assign your dice to doing. So I may have this wrong because it's been a while since I like cover to cover read this, and I read a lot of RPGs. But it's just interesting in the sense of like whenever you're rolling die, whatever you're doing, you can put dice towards advancing the objective of whatever scene you're currently in, and then you would describe how like the fiction is helping you do that.
Oh,
So like you're
okay. That's cool.
so
I like that.
if you're like if you're like fighting a bunch of Nazis in a room and you're trying to like get something out of the room and get out, while with D&D you would be narrating, I'm going to try to move over here, I'm going to try to move over here and do this and that, and then these rolls will follow. In this game, it's like, all right, I'm fighting them, that's brawl, roll, okay, I want to put like these dice towards defending myself, these dice towards taking out the Nazis in the room, and like throwing whatever other successfuls I have towards advancing the objective. And then whenever you put those advancing objective dice in, then the fiction of the scene moves forward to put you like one step closer to completing that objective, which is fascinating.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so it's this the system won't have the like tactical complexity of something like D&D or Pathfinder or Lancer or any of those more mechanically crunchy systems. This is a very narrative focused system where you are trying to do something very specifically, and it's more about the fiction and enjoying the story you create rather than trying to solve the puzzle of the mechanics as much.
it's a game about telling a story with friends as opposed to beating the game.
Exactly. And like that's part of like this is, this has a very specific story it wants to tell. So like this isn't something that, we're going to like our group isn't going to play this one system for like years on end. That's
No.
not that's not the point of this system. It's not, the it doesn't that's one thing that I've heard people complain about with games like this and systems like this is that with something like D&D, D&D books are expensive. One would say too expensive, but at the same time, there's also the argument that all the other books are just charging a lot less than they really should be. But a single D&D book will cost us what, like $80,
Give or take,
and
yeah.
generally you need to like fully play the system. At least one person in the group is going to have to buy three books: the Player's
Yeah.
Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Monster Manual.
Which is
So
ridiculous. I
yes, that's
think.
going to be like that's going to be like what, like $250. I know that's a
Give
little
or,
under. I'm just
yeah,
throwing
I
numbers
mean, the
out right
thing
now.
is, it's $250 for a game that you might not enjoy all that much. And
Yeah, but the flip side of that is that the value proposition of even a game as expensive as D&D, the value proposition is better than pretty much any other form of entertainment we can get right now.
Mhm.
Because once you bought those books, you have those books. And while, yes, Wizards of the Coast wants you to buy every book they put out so that that their profit margins can keep going and they can still keep giving us D&D. I don't have a problem with that in the general concept,
You don't have to buy those
but
books.
yeah, you don't have to buy those books, and you could play D&D 5th edition with just the 3 core books for a decade,
Mhm.
playing like every week, multiple hours a week. You will never get a better value proposition on pretty much any other form of entertainment. Because like you go to the movies, you
You
see the
get 2
story
hours
that's
for
done. Yeah,
$20. Yeah.
yeah. You you could buy the movie and rewatch the movie, but eventually you're going to get bored of that movie because it's the same story every single
It
time.
it doesn't change.
Yeah, while tabletop RPGs in general, the story changes every time. Even if you're running the exact same module, the story changes every time. And that's one argument that I've seen some people say about stuff like Eat the Reich, where it's like, oh, but it's one story. Like, you can only play it in your group once and then, you're done. And while I kind of agree with that sentiment, because, you are limited to the story it wants to tell, you know, you can play with different groups, you can swap which characters you're playing.
And
And even if you only ever play it once,
it's
for
still less
five
than a movie.
yeah for 5 people to enjoy, like, 6 to 10 hours of play for like like one of them paying $20, that's still a phenomenal value proposition for anything in this modern era.
Mhm. Agreed. And you can change your story based on the characters you're playing as. So I think
Exactly, because like if a game that has, this half man, half bat creature flying around tearing things to pieces is going to be a lot different than the one that, like, has
a feral vampire
just,
who can't sneak as well.
yeah, or like, the aristocratic vampire who might be like a little snooty about just wantonly tearing things to shreds. Like you can play, and you can play the characters in different ways. Like you could play Flint as, he might actually just be shy, and you can play him as like a really shy character, or you can play him as just functionally a feral monster if you want to. Like the blurb has that variety that you can
Hmm.
expand on it with.
And you can even blend the two, and he is really shy but pretends to be a feral monster.
Exactly. It's the worst masking you've ever seen.
So I think at the end of the day, and I'm only realizing now we've spoken for about an hour on mostly on Eat the Reich. Um,
we we did stay reasonably on topic.
I think any tangents we had were within the realms of context, more or less.
Hmm.
I think that what it comes down to is that yes, it's a $15 game. Yes, we're specifically talking about the PDF. I didn't look into shipping costs for anything else. But it's a $15 game. It isn't like a movie or a book where it doesn't change the next time you play it, experience it, however you want to generically encompass the media. There is options there for you to enjoy, and frankly, it looks like a hell of a lot of fun. And to Anko's point, it's a shame that the PDF is so cost effective as opposed to the book, because the artwork in a PDF isn't going to come across as well, and the artwork is amazing. But until next time, and we have no idea what next time is going to be. Another one of these, maybe the book review that we've been given that we really should do at some point.
Yes.
Tough to say. It's a long book. It is a long book. Like, let's be real. It's very good though. So until next time.
Game on.
Roll the dice, let's go! Gather round the table set, maps and minis, no regret. Heroes rise and villains fall, the dice decide the fate of all. From dungeons deep to cosmic skies, at Gampa calls, the flames will rise. Sharpen your swords, prepare the show. It's time to shout, we're ready to go! Ready to go! Let the story steal the show! Ready to go! Yeah. Roll for heart and rock the flow. Bards will sing and dragons know the might, the magic, the tales we throw. Ready, not go! When destiny calls and the dice hit the table, the heroes awaken and the nerds are ready. Ready to go! Leopard tails begin to grow. Ready to go! Forge your fate and steal the show. Raise your mugs, let courage flow. Ready, gotta go!
Hey, thanks for watching Board Game today. We always appreciate your views and your support, but there are so many ways for you to support our site. Not only can you do right here on video, but you can go and check us out at boardgametoday.com, where we have more news, reviews, interviews, everything you could ever want. But since you're here, if you could, you can always give us a like, subscribe or share our videos or watch something else is always much appreciated, and get your game on.